We are a part of this land. We belong here.
As Indigenous people, we thrived on the land in the Arctic and the subarctic and Region 10, and that was because of our relationship to earth, air, water, plants, animals, minerals.
I harvest off the land with the land. A way that I like to explain plants is in Dena'ina Nunalyahi. The context for it, which is the word for plant, you don't have to say medicine because it's understood that Nunalyahi are medicine. The idea about going and spending time on the land, having good thoughts while you're doing that, is all articulated in the verbs that are then nominalized, turned into nouns. You can express the parts that one feels doing those actions, and they're encoded in language beyond just the translation of, oh, that's a plant. When we describe them with verbs in Dena'ina, it's a different way of viewing the world, and it's because we're active, we're out on it.
It's been inspirational to draw from the stories of my mother's line, Yupik, Siberian Yupik, and have that connection to land and place and plants.
And here is the Artemisia, the wormwood. I will thank the earth for providing this wonderful plant for me to use in so many ways.
Why I like working with plants for food and medicine, to create wellness, to nurture wellness and cultivate wellness. And part of the wellness is being on the land, teaching people how to identify and remember the plant uses of the ancestors. And that's all people in all regions have connection to a land and lifeways around the world. We wouldn't be here today if we didn't have ancestors who knew the plants. So we're helping people remember their lifeways and their connection to nature, to the earth, air and water and plants, so they can nurture and cultivate health and wellness. And so when we look at herbal plant as food and medicine, this entire plant is helpful. It's the flower, the leaf, and the root, and we learn what time of the year to harvest. Some of that information is passed down from our elders, from our ancestors, and for sensitive people, that information comes through spiritually. It comes through what we call blood knowledge, genetic knowledge, through dreams, visions, knowings, intuition.
What is a medicine person or a traditional healer? It's a calling from the time you're real little, and the medicine has a way of telling you what to do with it. Sundew, it has this little carnivorous dew that makes your fingers feel real silky. It's used for asthma, pneumonia. This is a very powerful medicine. And I just poured the vinegar over. The fresher, the better the medicine. Because when anything dies, the spirit of it goes away. I'm very excited. They gave their little lives so that we can have good lungs. The medicine that you do eat should be grown where you live because it's more powerful. And the food that you eat where you live is more nutritious.
These greens are the greens that you brought from Wasilla yesterday.
Right, aren't they good?
I love chickweed.
I do too. We got lots of chickweed.
We had a delicious dinner tonight. 2 different kinds of salmon from the Kenai. I made some salmon patties. We had some curried salmon with a blend of different greens from Alaska. Moose curried as well with morels from Alaska, and then chickweed that was boiled and then sauteed. Knowing which plant medicines for which kinds of ailments can really be way more powerful than Western medicine. When I'm feeling like I'm about to get sick, I'll thaw out cranberries. That immune booster where if I'm feeling run down, I'll drink that and then I feel a lot better. You're out there listening to the land when you're harvesting, and then you need to listen to your body when you're using it. You learn more about being in tune in that mindset piece to when you're sick and you're needing medicine, what's the right kind and how much and all of that. I can tell when I need a huge hit of calcium, and that's when I'm bone broth.
Part of harvesting fish game, plants from the seashores, forest and the tundra. We're also exposed to nature, and nature itself boosts our immune system. And it does so because in the air we're breathing in the wildlands is molds, fungus, and in the dirt are microbes and bacteria and trace minerals. And we do absorb some of that through our skin, and that exposure boosts our immune system.
You're only as healthy as your land. That's why jurisdiction over our land is vitally important. And we learned a lot of our medicines and a lot of our foods from the animals here in Alaska.
This is beautiful rib steak from a moose from St. Mary's on the Yukon River. We feel that these animals are hunted with the values of our people, the values of our relatives that are hunters, that spend time on the land, that know the lifeways of the moose and caribou. And with that is a deep spirituality, a connection to the earth. Our hunters know where to go, when to go. Part of that is their own connection to the spirit of the animal, to the spirit of the plants.
We also learned the respect and how to respect what you harvest, when you harvest, and how you harvest. These practices are still being used by a lot of the Indigenous people.
This side of my basket's gonna be raspberry, on this side nettles, on this side fireweed. So I keep it all separate, and it makes it very easy for me to go home, clean it, and put it in the dehydrator. This is my dehydrator. The first plant I'm going to take out is coltsfoot, and it's a culinary delight. I've got rhodiola root, and then right next to it I have some fireweed leaves. When I pull that out, I'm gonna remember this week that I went and picked flowers with Mom. And so this is gonna make me happy. Earlier today, I harvested plants that grow along Cook Inlet. The yarrow plant, the common name is bluebells. So here's raspberry. This is the wild rose of Alaska. The berry turns into one of the highest vitamin C content foods in Alaska. Fireweed, this flower dries beautifully. I love edible flowers. That's one of the things I collect. It's almost like a spiritual connection to the plant to have the flowering part of the plant in my tea. I love to travel with these edible flowers and share them with family and friends wherever I go. It's just a delight. But there are rules around and protocols around using plants. Right? So our ancestors and relatives and teachers tell us how to use these plants in a safe manner. Certain plants you can't put a lid on because there's volatile oils in the plants. So if you're new to working with plants, read about them, ask questions, study. Small doses are better to see how your body responds to the different plant varieties in Alaska.
We have stories that are thousands and thousands of years old, how the Dena'ina people were starving and how Creator put the salmon here for us. This was way before the United States came and way before Alaska claims to become a state. And it seems that everything that our culture was about, fishing, hunting, gathering our medicine plants, became illegal.
The Dena'ina Territory, our customary land, is the metropolitan center of Alaska. That it just makes it really difficult to go moose hunting. Oh yeah, no, we can't just go do that. There's all these different laws that we have that you have to figure out the legal routes, and then working through that frustration that a community feels when it's like, okay, we can't do this anymore because it's been outlawed.
And so basically we became criminals. I've spent time in jail defending our rights to feed our families.
Every year I would get Yukon salmon strips, and they're so oily, and like, oh, this is really good for me, you
This is
know.
what it feels to be human again.
And yeah, I haven't been able to get them for the last, 5 years because they've shut down the fishing.
And our ancestors told us that this was our land. It's not that we're saying we own everything. Creator placed us here. And when Creator placed us here, we were made stewards of this land. And so as stewards of this land, we're very concerned when people come in and start polluting. It's against our culture, and our culture is really based on love, truth, and honor. But we have a very hard time being included in conversations, critical conversations about the environment and about our food sources and medicine plants that we should be actually a part of. So regulations are often than not made without our knowledge or consent.
So the other thing that would really help is to have projects where you work with the tribes together and make a plan and then get funding, rather than getting the funding and trying to follow a plan that somebody concocted from clear across the country. I think tribes are your #1 advocates, and people that live in remote areas. If you can get their stories out there, I think it'll help a lot, and to let them know that they're not forgotten.
We're in a wetlands, and these are vital for subsistence food. Here's a bog cranberry. Next to it is a lingonberry. Both of these berries super dense in phytonutrients. So we have the berries, cranberries, blueberries, bog cranberries, Labrador tea. There's also some carbohydrate plants in the bogs and the wetlands that are important.
We're so blessed to have all of these medicines, and our environment is as much of our story as the medicine plants and the food Creator has placed here for us. It's been a really tough experience for us to be told that everything that's in our genetics is pretty much illegal in this system. And so this is where EPA and some of the other agencies that are there to protect the environment, that are there to do what's right, can be so helpful to us. And allies, we always open our arms and open our hearts to those who ally with us for the purpose of the best interest of our earth and everything that is alive, including all human beings.
The land is key for health. So I researched water, fresh water in the state of Alaska. When I did my presentation to the class, we all just sat there and cried because it was just so disturbing, and it still makes me tear up. When I was printing out the map for that, I'd run out of one of the colors of ink, and all that was left was the contaminated water sites in Alaska. The Kenai Peninsula, the Cook Inlet, is the only place in the world, not even in China or Mexico, did they let oil companies spit the stuff back out into the inlet that they do here. Over 99% of the freshwater resources that they had tested here in the state of Alaska had some kind of contaminant in it. To think of this state everybody thinks is pure and fresh, most of those contaminants are man-made. You know, we have more super contaminated sites than any other state in the country that are not being cleaned up. It's just never ending. You'd have to write a book to be able to share every contaminated site in the state of Alaska.
So here we are on the shores of Cook Inlet, and I come here and I harvest plants, and I think if I didn't know anything, I would think that this is a clean, pure environment. but we know Alaska is home to some of the largest Superfund sites, contamination sites that require millions and millions of dollars to clean up. Cook Inlet is home to a natural gas development. And then we have a very high rate of colon cancer in Alaska Native populations. Studies link persistent organic pollutants in subsistence food to our cancer rates. But there isn't a grocery store where you can buy enough meat and vegetables at a cost that people could afford that live in rural Alaska. You can't replace whale and seal and walrus and fish with cow. It doesn't work that way.
It's really important to have agencies like environmental agencies to help at least the minimum of protecting the earth. Oftentimes young people say, I don't know why I was born or why was I born? Well, we know why we were born because it's in our stories that Creator made human beings to protect the earth. In the time of Raven, before Nakaltani, who we call Creator, created our people, the land didn't look like it does today. The earth was covered mostly by water. Nakaltani told Raven he was going to create new creatures called humans, so he could have creatures smart enough to relate with. He told Raven to make a place for these people and to teach them the principles and regulations that they were to live by, which was to respect and to take good care of the earth and all of his creations of the earth, because they too were all his children. To honor Raven for his task, Nakaltani would name one of the people's clans the Raven Clan. He also told Raven some humans would try to destroy the earth. Therefore, it would be the duty of the Raven Clan to protect the earth. Nakaltani told Raven if he failed to teach these lessons to the humans, or if they did not succeed their purpose of protecting earth, their actions would destroy Raven along with his other creations. If humans destroy Raven, Nakaltani promised that he would destroy the humans and rearrange the earth, causing it to look nothing like it does today. Nakaltani told Raven the greatest lesson of all is this, that he will not be ignored or forgotten, and that he is always among us. And if we fail to remember who he is and ask him what we require, he will provide us just what we ask. He said, never forget the lesson you have learned today. This is also a prophecy. It affects all of our future generations.